Welcome to Firepower. We are live. My name is Pastor Todd Coconato. I'm going to be here with Mario Murillo tonight, and we're asking the question, what should President Donald Trump, do now? There is a litany of things that are going on right now between the release of the Epstein Files, which are going through the Senate now, being, you're going to be signed by the president, who only a few weeks ago was saying they're a hoax. It's not true. It's a Democrat scheme. And we're going to talk about that in just a few more minutes. What about the economy? How's the economy doing? What are you thinking about how the president has done on the economy? We want to hear your feedback. You can actually comment as we are live right now. We'd like to see your comments. There's another situation that's happening in America and in the Western world, the Islamization of the Western world. We're seeing this happening in Europe, all across Europe, and now it's come to the United States. We're seeing places like Dearborn, Michigan, which is a literal flashpoint right now. There's Christian YouTubers and people on the streets that are being surrounded by Muslim people in Dearborn, and they're reporting on it live, and we're seeing this on social media. And there's just a lot of things we need to talk about. So I'm going to bring in my friend Mario Murillo. Now, Mario, we're just coming out of Beeville, and there was a move of God there. There was a move of God, his presence. I mean, I can't even explain what just happened in that tent in Beeville. And you spoke there 2 days and saw miracles and signs and wonders happening. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thank you, Todd. I think that Beeville was something that was the direct obedience of God. And we went there because of my niece, Rhonda Garcia, and Pastor Jesse Berthold of the New Life Church in Beeville. And let me tell you something. They have a natural disaster that's about to happen without a miracle because they've had no water, no rain for the longest time. I understand now, that there is rain starting to fall. I may be wrong, but we're live this Wednesday night. And I'm going to tell you, so many people got saved and there were wonderful miracles, but I've never before seen it where our team with Frank Saldana, Inner City Action, went on the streets of Beeville, and so many of the people that they invited to come were unchurched. They came, and the altar call that opening night shocked us all. There were hundreds who were born again, and it was an amazing time. And now we're looking forward to a Christmas night of miracles in Santa Barbara that I'm going to be talking about. It's a very important night on December 14th. But right now, all of you, Todd and I want you to share. And we're going to read some of your comments tonight while you're live with us. And our concern is that you help us to get the word out. When you like this show and when you share it, something really important happens. So please help us. You're the army and you can help us do it. Donald Trump is facing the first, what I consider to be major challenge to his second term in office. He's at a juncture that's very decisive. It's like valley of decision. And the question is, what should he do? And the other question is, why would Todd and I think that we should tell Donald Trump what he should do? Well, the Bible tells us to pray for those in authority. Right. And let me tell you, how do you pray for those in authority without discerning what needs to be prayed for? So what our point is this, just like children growing up, they need to learn about the birds and the bees from their parents, not from the street. Well, Firepower is trying to do the same thing by giving you information, because there's never been more noise. There's never been more lies and misinformation. And Todd and I work very hard to make sure whatever we tell you is the truth, and we will never lie to you. We don't care about the views. We don't care about the size of the audience. We don't care. We care about telling the truth. And we want to be here every week to make sure that you feel confident that when you turn on this program, you're going to get exactly what you need to be strong in God in the hour that you're living in. And we have a lot invested in Donald Trump. We voted for him. We prayed for him. We believe God to touch him. And now he's facing what I feel is the first real major challenge, is the 4 items that you mentioned. And we're going to show something about the Epstein Files, but already you can feel the frustration that people don't think the Department of Justice is doing their job. And you'll kind of see that in the video we'll show in a while. I want to run that video, and then I'm going to ask Todd a very, very important question. So let's run this video with Pam Bondi and listen. You can feel the reaction that people are going to have to this. So here it goes right now.
New investigation by the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files?
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
What are the next steps, Madam Attorney General, for the DOJ regarding what we assume President Trump will sign into law with the Epstein Files? Is this going to be on the Justice Department website? What are you doing here over the next 30 days as we understand it?
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
Yeah. When you say follow the law, Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
And what changed, because now we know that there are third parties involved. And early on, you and I both agree that she spoke too soon early on. And right. So the question is, a lot of people are in the MAGA movement right now think that they're going to withhold vital information. Nobody's going to be arrested. And you have a theory about why it's so hard to get all of this truth out about the Epstein files. What do you see, Todd?
Well, let's just say I've had a few conversations about this with people that would have really good information. And I've kind of put all that together, Mario. And here's what I'm feeling at this time. Okay. First of all, you got to think about the life of Donald Trump. If you go back to the 90s, remember that version of Donald Trump, you know, he was dating beautiful women. He was married to beautiful women. He was not the kind of guy, we've never seen him have a character where he would be with like 15-year-olds ever. We've never seen that version. It just doesn't fit his character, doesn't fit the persona of Donald Trump ever since he's been in the public eye. Now, could that be a possibility? I'm not saying it couldn't be, but it doesn't seem to be who he is. Okay, so there's been a case that's been built against him, and we noticed that the Democrats, they had control of the, you know, under the Biden administration, they had the ability during that period of time to release these Epstein files, which you didn't hear a peep from them. In fact, it was something that on the right folks were saying, and the left was avoiding it. Now that changed after President Trump became president. And what my theory is, to your point, and I could get a lot into this, but I'll try to just keep it at a high level, is it's a chain of custody issue. So there are files, obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell is currently in jail. Jeffrey Epstein was until whatever happened to him. And we don't exactly know either he, you know, killed himself or something else happened to him. But bottom line is he's supposedly no longer around. But they both went to jail for something. Okay, so we know there's obviously a case. There's been grand jury investigations. There's been grand jury speaking. So there's definitely crimes that have been committed. There's multiple victims that have come forward. You know, I come from Hollywood. I know this type of thing happens. It's very pervasive in Hollywood. People know that that's going on. And Epstein was one of those guys where people knew in the elite circles that this was happening around him, whatever your theory is on who he is. So that being said, I think the chain of custody is the problem. I think during the Biden administration, the DOJ under Biden got a hold of these documents. And I think, okay, this is where I'm at now, and it's taken me a while to come to this conclusion. I think when President Trump came out and said this is a hoax, it's like Russia, Okay, you got to listen to what the president has been saying. He's alluding to the point that this is a similar scenario to what happened with what we now know is a debunked theory of the dossier and the paid for by Hillary Clinton campaign and so on and so on about Russiagate. What I think happened, Mario, is I think they pointed the documents in this chain of custody issue toward Donald Trump as a trap, knowing that the right wanted this issue to come out. And his DOJ comes in, they start looking at these files, they want to release more, and all of a sudden they realize, my goodness, this is pointing towards Donald Trump. Now, this is the same group of people. Remember, they said the hotel room and what was it, Russia? There was something that happened in Bergdorf with Trump, and then this woman accused him. I mean, this has been going on ever since the man has been in office. And so, would it really be surprising that the same players would do something like this? And so, I think that's what could be going on here. Of course, there's a few other theories, but that one seems to be the most plausible to me.
Okay, so explain a little bit more by what you mean by the term chain of custody, because I think that needs to be amplified a little bit.
Sure. So basically what that means is there's been a lot of people that have touched these documents. There have been a lot of different people along the course of these documents being handed around the Justice Department under the Biden administration. People, I'm not saying James Comey, but people like a Comey, like a Clapper, those types of folks in the deep state that now we know have used their own private email accounts, have used private servers, have, written memos that were non-existent, making up a story against President Trump. So those are the same types of folks. So in that chain of custody, in other words, where the files were getting handed from one person to another, they're being looked at by that Justice Department. I think things could have been added. I think they could have been worded a certain way. Would we really put that by people like Obama's former people that, occupied a lot of the Biden administration? Absolutely not. They're the same people that did it with Russiagate.
Now, you said it was a trap. I have a comment on that, but I want you to expand on that too. Why is it a trap? In your estimation?
Well, because the base of the Trump, the Trump base, and now that we're seeing a lot of fracturing in that base, and a lot of it is over this issue, which is why I've said I think it's a psychological warfare operation, because it's doing exactly what it was intended to do. Now, I have hope here. I think President Trump is one step ahead, and I think he still may be able to turn this whole thing around and actually use it as a weapon against them. But I think that's where we're at right now, and we have to see how this plays out. But the trap that they set was for him to release these files and have it pointing towards him. And then, that's why they're all out there on the social media and all the different mainstream corporate media. They're basically pushing President Trump. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton, how many times has he been in the island? Hillary Clinton, they're missing they're supposed to be going in, they're being held, I think, in contempt, maybe for not going to their trial. And so many other players on the left that have been Larry Summers and others. And so meanwhile, they keep pointing it at Trump, which is exactly what the intention here was.
So we have to have a realistic expectation of what the end result is going to be of releasing all these files. If they've been in the hands of people that would doctor them, knowing in fact that, as Trump, we will see in a later video, he said, it's a Democrat problem. It was the Democrats that were going to the island. It's all Democrats that were involved in this underage scandal. So do we need to kind of be realistic of what to expect? I mean, how much justice can we expect from thousands and thousands of pages of things that were in Democrat hands for 4 years? So I didn't know I was going to ask you that. But what do you think should be our realistic expectation in this, Todd?
Well, it all really depends on which theory it is. If this is President Trump, it could be a Streisand effect, but it could be him actually wanting. Can you imagine a guy that could actually get the Democrats to ask for the Epstein Files to be released when this is the same group that didn't want to release them in the last administration? How did they take a complete different stance? So maybe in his baiting and his 4D chess that some people say, maybe he actually intended for this to be the case, and then they actually do bring forth a lot of evidence. We're already seeing people being implicated into this. But the challenge is whether it's theory one, where it was set as a trap for him, and then he's just trying to maneuver through this in a way that doesn't really cause any more division in the party, or number two, where he actually knew that all this was going on and has something set up for them. So I think realistically, here's the problem, Mario. There's probably people implicated on both sides of the aisle. I'm talking about rhino Republicans and corrupt people. And the left is going to word that they're going to come out and say that the right doctored it. And the right's going to say the left doctored it. So pretty much wherever you live in your beliefs, most likely there's not going to be too many people swayed. And I think a lot of people have unrealistic expectations about what's going to come out. But there's always the wild card where there actually is some major story here that all of a sudden breaks, and it could be a game changer. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
You know, one of the things, too, that we're talking about is during the government shutdown, the Democrats were absolutely sure that they could sell America on the idea that Donald Trump had shut down the government. And so Donald Trump knew that if he waited long enough, the heat would be turned up so high on Democrats that they would have to capitulate without getting anything they wanted. And that's exactly what happened. There's something about the about face that Donald Trump did. You know, he said, you know, it's a distraction. Let's not release them. And now all of a sudden he said, man, I want them out. And they tried to accuse him of not wanting him out. That's where I'm kind of putting my feeling is there's something in there, and we're about to find out about it. Well, and so let's look at this next video, because we're saying that we want to know what Donald Trump should do. And here he is. Let's look at this.
Here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others. They're all Democrats. All I want is for people to recognize a great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. You know, with Kennedy, we gave everything and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages, 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that many of the people some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, but they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. You know, they cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much, because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time.
You know, here's something very important. I'm going to ask you a question. It's very important for the MAGA people, MAGA, listen up. He is absolutely right that I think when it comes to Donald Trump, the MAGA followers have an almost ethereal, unquenchable sense of expectation in his power to do things. So the guy can end 8 wars and still be criticized by MAGA. Okay. He can literally bring in one of the later videos on the economy that we're going to show you, Donald Trump this year brought in more money to the United States in less than 1 year than Biden did in the entire 4 years he was president. That's an amazing statement. He has brought in trillions of dollars of value of people that were the deals he's made. Now, he's not perfect, and there's a lot of things he's done that I don't necessarily think were wise, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters right now is the fact that the MAGA base wants blood from the Epstein files. That's what they want. They want people to go to jail. And let's analyze why that is. And I'm going to say part of it, and then I want you to give me your opinion. I believe that what happened with Trump is that the Christians became very, very influential. His rallies were Christian. He had worship. He had prayer. He had notable Christian figures that spoke up and were followers. It wasn't just a political campaign. The Democrats were complaining that many Trump rallies turned into revival meetings, which is something I predicted several years ago that would happen, because I believe that a revival is the only thing that's going to save us, and that Trump is just a foot in the door to it. But I believe MAGA is so, the bar is set so high for Trump that I think it's become unrealistic to look at what he's done. Now, when you come to the Congress, don't get me started on the Congress, because I do believe the Republican Congress has been dragging its feet on fulfilling the agenda. That's not Trump's fault. He can only lay it out. But I think MAGA is just kind of spoiled, is what they are. And Trump's partially responsible, because he said, we're going to win, and we're going to win, and we're going to win until you get sick of winning. But I think it's an unhealthy thing right now that, I don't believe Trump is saying, don't make a big deal out of Epstein because it detracts from what I've done. I think the main point is that it's very easy to really take for granted what Trump has accomplished in a few months. It's amazing. And I think MAGA is a little bit spoiled.
Yes.
And what say ye, Mr.
100%.
Todd?
I mean, I'm just thinking of it from like a pastor's perspective, and how people, it's always the people that you pour into the most, not always, but oftentimes, that are least appreciative for some reason. So, I'm putting it on a grand scale. President Trump, president of the United States, he's bringing back jobs, manufacturing, trillions of dollars of investment, stabilizing the petrodollar, which was literally on the way out from the BRICS, challenging the U.S. hegemony on the world stage. And all of a sudden Trump comes in, makes a deal back with Saudi Arabia. People don't understand a lot of the stuff that he's doing right now, while ending, 5 wars, almost about to end another one, a president for peace, restoring our military, shutting down the border, standing for religious liberty and freedom, pushing back against all the Biden policies and the transgender. And, we could just go on and on. But to your point, Mario, what I think is happening, okay, and this is actually happening in the church. A lot of what happened is in the conservative movement mirrors in the Christian community. But we're in a clickbait culture. So we're in a culture now that there are creators, content creators, okay, that are out there, and they know what's going to get a buzz. They know, if you talk about something that's just a policy, or, maybe what we're talking about, maybe that's not as, you're not going to get as many clicks. But if you say Epstein and Trump might be implicated, and, people are going to click on that. And that actually draws people to watch some of these podcasters and broadcasters. And I honestly think that there's an effect of that that's now reverberated throughout the MAGA movement, to where uninformed, because see, everything that you said made complete sense to thinking people. What you said was, if somebody has an informed position, they're going to be like, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I absolutely want to see criminals and corrupt politicians go down. I've been very vocal about that. I think it needs to happen in this sweet spot right now, even before the midterms. Things need to start happening on a grander scale, and I'll be the first to say that. But to your point, Mario, I mean, what's the alternative? This is the question that I pose to everybody out there right now, is let's just say that half of the MAGA movement didn't turn out in the next election cycle. What would be the alternative? Well, we already know what happened. The Democrats would then win. based on, you know, all the different things that they do to get votes. And we don't have to get into that today, but they would win. Okay. And then all of a sudden, what would they do? Their first action would be to impeach President Trump. So what would happen is the guy would have handcuffs on. He's not even, like you said, even Rhino Republicans aren't pushing for the America First agenda through now. And can we imagine if the Democrats got both the House and the Senate, or even one of those? And so then what happens, right? Then the policies that he's trying to enact, you know, voter ID, you know, cleaning the voter rolls, changing some of the corrupt things that have been going on for so long. He's no longer able to accomplish that. Then what? Let's just say, worst case scenario, a Gavin Newsom type comes in as the next president. Where do you think the country is going to head from there? Mario, this is literally our moment of opportunity right now. And it all goes back to the church. What are we going to do? So this is where we have to see beyond what, you know, the noise and the distraction, and get a spiritual understanding of this moment in time. And that's why you're doing what you're doing. And that's why I'm so proud and honored to be a part, you know, when I get to, and the other things that we're doing, because it's got to be about soul winning, and it's got to be about the demonstration of the presence of God, because there's no other way to fight the communism, the Islamization. This is all a demonic strategy that's playing out. And I don't know why more people aren't talking about it.
Well, and, you know, I think, you know, talking about MAGA, and it's fracturing right now at the worst possible time, that, you know, I'm going to tell you, I don't really, I would go on record right now to say, I don't know what's in the Epstein files, but no matter what's in there, there are many of you out there that will not be satisfied with it. That are going to say, oh, well, we didn't, you know, it's because your expectation is up here about it. Now let's look at the real threat to the country right now. If you were to ask me, okay, what is the major threat to the country right now? The church is still asleep. Okay. I want to see your reaction to that, Todd. So I'd like to see on the screen here. The church is still not taking the wheel and dominating, because we're still victimized by this false sense that, oh, I need to be a sweet Christian. I need to, you know, I don't need to be speaking out and saying things that might make people offended or hurt or leave the church. And you don't understand. Millions are waiting for a clear voice. Millions are waiting. I mean, our tent is full. Young people, our audience is getting younger everywhere we go, and we're not the only ones seeing this. Okay, everybody I know that's doing soul winning right now is reporting the same thing. It's almost like the fish are jumping in the boat. We don't even need nets now. People, and the clearer you preach, the more of them that get saved. Why? In the midst of a moment when millions of people are so hungry for God, would we waste so much time trying to placate the lukewarm members of our church? Why would we put any energy into them at all, when in fact they may be spoiled, they may have gotten under bad theology? So when you said that what's going on with MAGA right now is mirrored in the church, MAGA needs to hold it together. They need to understand, okay, what has Donald Trump actually accomplished? What's he done? And well, he hadn't done this and he hadn't done that. You're in a Power Rangers episode right now. You think you need to push a button and these dragons are going to die. The man has been in office a few months and is already, and let me give an example. There's no way, this is very important. There's no way Donald Trump is going to get credit for what he does. There's no way. I mean, the lady from Venezuela that won the Nobel Prize gave it to Trump, said in her speech, this belongs to Donald Trump. I didn't end any war. He ended 8 wars. But the world is so filled with hate for Donald Trump that literally he could be messianic and they would still find a way to be upset with him. And now it's drifting into MAGA. Like, why? You know, we're not getting all the names we need. I think we're going to get more than what we fear. We're not going to get nearly as much as we might hope, because our bar of expectation of what Epstein's files were supposed to do to the left is going to be sadly disappointing. And we got a lot bigger things to concern ourselves with. The rise of Islam. I mean, how could 1 million New Yorkers vote for Zoran? I mean, that I don't know. I'm sorry. This cancels all my invitations to New York. But I mean, something got in your brain, folks, because first of all, the buses aren't going to be free ever. They're never going to be free. The free stuff he's promised, none of it you're going to get. And here's the oh my gosh, Zoran promised free this, free that, free that. You're not going to get any of it, New York, but you're still going to support him. MAGA, on the other hand, is getting win after win after win from Trump and still finding ways to get at each other. And it is absolutely, I feel, satanic that we should now find a reason to be at each other's throats at the moment that victory has been handed to us. This, to me, is the strutting football player who throws the football on the ground at the 1 foot line and doesn't wait till he crosses the goal line before he does his little triumph dance. We are right there. And that's really important. And maybe you could read some of the comments to what we're getting in a few minutes, Todd, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're being censored. Some people are saying that it's buffering, but we are having a lot of people opine. Michael said it's all a spiritual war. It is. Somebody said, I'm concerned with all the Muslims bringing to the surface, that more concerned about that than the Epstein files is the Muslims. And so the viewers are agreeing with what you're saying. And I agree too. I mean, you got to understand in Dallas, I think it's Dallas, in the last couple of months, 24 mosques have appeared. Now, the good news is this last week, the governor of Texas actually made, I think it's the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE, terrorist organizations. And that's going to change a lot of the trajectory of where they're going. But Mario, we're in Tennessee and we're seeing a similar thing happen here. People don't understand, if you're living in California or, what they call a blue stronghold, and you look at the South, or, what they say, the buckle on the Bible Belt, you don't think that this stuff is happening here, but there is an attack on our nation, even in the South, even in the very red areas. And this is where it's like a Trojan horse. I mean, Carolina, North Carolina, Charlotte area, these areas that you would never think historically. I mean, these are very deep red, historically conservative values, family values. Mario, we're being attacked. And the thing is that there's a limited amount of time. America still is that last bastion. When you look in the Western world, you look at the UK, which is pretty lost at this point. You look at Paris and, France and Germany and you go to Canada. I mean, it's gone. They're gone. I mean, they're already going into full-blown socialism, / communism. And we in America got a gift through prayer with Donald Trump. And to your point, it's not even been 1 full year that the man has even been in office. And the expectation is so high. And I'm not here to make a defense in everything he does. I'm not trying to say that, but you have to look at the alternative. I mean, the World Economic Forum has a plan. Okay. The UN Agenda 2030 has a plan. If you want to call them the globalists or the elites or whatever, they have a plan. Digital currencies, digital IDs. We just saw the Apple Wallet come out in many different states. They're already offering a digital form of identification. This is being already in America. And there are certain states that are already approving this, and more that are going to sign on to it. You got central bank currencies that could be turned off theoretically. I mean, we're looking at infrastructure to an eventual mark of the beast system. And then you have Donald Trump, who is basically holding back. I think it's the saints of God through prayer, but we need to be that restraining force. We need to understand where we are on the timeline. And I said this in the tent last night, Mario, and I think you've heard me share this, but UN Agenda 21 did not all get accomplished. They had to push back some of those things to the next year, which is UN Agenda 2030 and 25. And they're not, I'm believing they're not going to accomplish these goals in 2030, but this is why the church needs to rise up. And what you're doing is so important in the crusade under the tent, in signs and wonders in the demonstration, because the church has to get the fire of God. And we've got to understand our position in the world right now.
There were two people and they had a foot race. and the guy lost. And so his girlfriend asked him, how did the foot race come out? And he didn't want to admit he lost. So he said it this way. He said, I came in second and the other guy came in next to last. Now, let me tell you what that means. That means that our enemy wants to turn our wins into failure and to turn our breakthroughs into things that aren't real, so that we look at the wrong metric for an understanding of where things actually are. For the first time in 15 years, church attendance has stopped leveling off and has reversed course. The primary source of that is Gen Z young men. Bible sales are up. You cannot open the internet without reading a report of an NFL team having a prayer meeting, a college championship team having prayer meetings, and people gathering on university campuses everywhere to seek God. How quickly we forget the Charlie Kirk effect, which is still in effect. And so what we have to understand is that media itself will constantly attempt to manipulate, to downgrade. You may be a pastor. You may be in the midst of a great act of God and the devil's making you feel like nothing is happening. And suddenly in the midst of victory, and that's again, Todd, to your point about what is going on in the world is mirrored inside the church. We're having fantastic results, but those results can be absorbed by a false sense of expectation and an overwhelming lack of reality about what we should have expected. Things are probably better than we should have expected them to be by this point. We just don't realize it because we're constantly comparing it to something that isn't realistic. Now, that's why I think we're ready now for the next video. So let's look at this because we got a lot more to tell you.
Oh, what do we have here? Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out today, escalating the battle with MAGA base and President Trump, and basically alluding that President Trump is a traitor, serving foreign countries because he's trying to solve world peace. And he's trying to get peace in the Middle East. And he got their hostages home in Israel. And he's trying to stop the killing in Ukraine and Russia from the Russians. He's trying to stop wars. He's trying to get peace. Therefore, according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, he is a traitor. Now, this is a bridge too far for me. Listen to what she has to say.
Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America.
Really? President Trump's a traitor? All he's done, the guy took a bullet for us, almost was assassinated twice, has done a remarkable job in the 9 months he's been there. Right now, in my mind, the best president in the history of America, including the early ones. Washington, Lincoln, you name it. You look at his accomplishments, are incredible. There's been a blip here or there, like we all do. But what she said, she's done. I'm done. You can't come back from this. There's certain things in life you say or do where there's no coming back. So you better be sure you got a pathway forward. Maybe she wants to run for president. I don't know. Maybe she'll get 3% in Iowa. I don't know. Don't care. But that to me is stepping over the Rubicon. That's a bridge too far. Look, here's the deal. You got a conference, a Republican conference of 219 members. 2 of them are wayward. Massey, who's not even a Republican, he's a libertarian whack job, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But they both have R's by their name, so that's fine. So that's 2 out of 219. They represent less than 1% of the Republican conference. 0.087% is what they represent. They're less than 1% of the entire Republican caucus in Washington. So who cares what they say? I don't care. No one cares. We got to get this economy going. We got to get our jobs back. Grow, baby, grow. We got to get everything going in the right direction. We got to get interest rates down. We got to make housing affordable. We got to make rent affordable. We got to make food affordable. Got to bring the gas prices down. Everything that Trump is working on from when he took over, 10% inflation, catastrophe, disaster. And now you got Marjorie Taylor Greene going out there and calling the president a traitor. He took a bullet for us. Did you? I don't think so. He did. Almost got assassinated twice. President Trump had enough. I've had enough with her. I'm done. Have a nice life. Marjorie Taylor Greene, nice to know you. Thanks for everything. Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. Here's your hat. What's your hurry? I, for one, am done.
Well,
He's done.
I wish he would stop beating around the bush and tell us what he thinks of Marjorie Taylor Greene. But apparently, well, here's the problem and why, we ran that video. We're not trying to be mean. We're not trying to be insulting of anyone. No, but it is important to understand this. Stopping World War III is a pretty good America First policy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say that. And if you don't think so, if you don't think that the bad guys are about to kill us or that we shouldn't at key points, and the thing is, I don't want us being neocons starting endless wars that never end. I don't want it. We shouldn't send our youth into wars except under the most absolutely valid reasons. But those actions have prevented, Donald Trump's actions in these wars has prevented an escalation, and that's valid. But to his further point is, I don't disagree. I feel emphatically right that it is the economy. The economy
Yes.
is what we have got to start focusing on and getting prices down. And I think we're heading in that direction. Go ahead, Todd.
Well, that's right. I mean, if you think of the policies that the president has done since he's been in office, everything is to bring back finances to the United States, to secure the petrodollar, to secure our position on the world stage militarily, to bring back America's prominence, its leadership on the global stage. I mean, look at the difference in how the world leaders treat President Trump versus Biden in the auto pen. So major, major difference. Let's talk about the mirror again with the church and with Donald Trump. The Bible says, my people die for lack of knowledge. And I think what's going on here is a lot of people don't understand what the president is actually doing. He is doing America first when he goes around the world, when he meets with Saudi Arabia, when he meets with these countries, because there's a lot at stake. Saudi Arabia was on the verge of joining the BRICS. They were looking into the BRICS and becoming part of BRICS Plus. President Trump has now slowed that, may hopefully stop that process, turned it around, getting a $1 trillion investment into the U.S. economy just from the Saudis alone. Now, I know there's always going to be people out there who say, well, I don't want to do anything with the Saudis. We've been dealing with the Saudis. Go back to the petrodollar. Go back to Nixon. Go back to, this isn't anything new. Some people have called them the custodians of the petrodollar. I mean, the whole system, when we went off the gold standard, basically went to the oil, and the dollar being pegged and oil being sold into dollars. So, I'm not saying that I agree with everything, but this is the system that we're in. And let me just say this, Mario, and if you could bring Mario back on screen. But, what a lot of Americans don't understand is that if we were to lose the petrodollar, and this has always been a concern because I know it's part of their overall agenda later. If you look at the World Economic Forum, they say that America will be one of many versus being the world superpower. So that's where they would like to go. And we knew that Obama wanted that. He, his wife or whatever you want to, she wanted it. I mean, that they all said that they didn't want America to be, the superpower that we are today. So President Trump is securing America's future, and the U.S. dollar, which we've already seen inflation. Okay, we've already seen a cycle of inflation. But if we lost the global standard as the reserve, we would lose. Many experts say 30% of the intrinsic value of the dollar overnight. Our buying power would just tank, and our ability to wage wars, our ability to project world dominance in military would be gone, because we wouldn't be able to do what we do now. So there are a lot of people, it's a lack of knowledge. And so they're just spouting stuff off and they don't even understand what's going on.
And here we go with the next challenge that we need to face and answer, because you did a great job there, Todd. But let's run this next video right now.
I hope you guys get your mojo back. This was once a great country. I want to see it great again.
He's talking about
you
England.
You guys are a husk of your former self. You guys, you can laugh and sneer all you want, but the country that split the atom and invented the steam engine and eradicated slavery and brought common law to the world can do a lot better than this. And your existence led to our existence. And for whatever I can do, I hope that this country finds a leader or a group of leaders. I'm not here to give you political advice. I hate when foreigners do that to Americans. You guys do whatever you want. But I do have a wish that the world feels like it's missing something. It feels like it's missing something when Great Britain or England or whatever politically correct thing I have to say, because I guess England, I can't fly an English flag now, or whatever nonsense that is. Like, be proud of your heritage. You've done good for the world. Stop apologizing. Get your energy, get your vitality, get what made England and made Great Britain such a phenomenal place. I hope you get that back, and I hope that you reject the swan song of multiculturalism and get back to the fundamental truism that a strong Britain means a strong world, and therefore a strong West, and we can stand up for what is good, true, and beautiful.
True. Man.
Now, that's us, folks. We're not far away from that. And Trump's fumbled, made mistakes, but do you want that? Do you want that British? You know that I saw a video of a woman giving out tracts and preaching to people on the street, and she was arrested.
That's right.
For raising her voice about a religious matter. In the background was the Islamic call to prayer. You could hear the horn going off. And so literally the police were telling a Christian, you can't share your faith, while it was legal to blare that call to prayer. Okay. And as he said in there, it is illegal to wave the British flag, not illegal to wave the Palestinian flag. Now, how did he get there? It got there because a people did not understand. I love the way Jesus said it. You did not know when God came to rescue you. That's one version of it. You did not know the hour of your visitation. You did not know when God came to rescue you. There is a miracle in progress in America. Some of it is Trump. Some of it is a youth revival. Some of it is DEI. Like we just read that Disney has taken all DEI language out of its business model. Now, who helped do that? Who is the reason that we are now watching wokeness fall on its heels? It was Donald Trump's unrelenting, his rallies, his outspokenness, and then it emboldened others. Now I feel that boldness needs to be the gospel, because the gospel is the thing. It isn't economy, it isn't right, left, and we really don't have a right or left world anymore. We don't have Democrats, we don't have Republicans. We have the people of God and we have Satan. That's what we got. And what we have got to understand is that we are locked in a moral battle of good against evil. And the devil wants to fracture it and wipe it out and get us to use trivia as an excuse for breaking ranks. And we've got to understand the consequence. Now, my hope for Marjorie Taylor Greene, she is not a bridge too far from me. I met her. I think she's a delightful person. And I think that we need to pray that just like Elon and Trump got back together, that we're going to see a reconciliation. Go ahead, Todd.
That's right. Well, I want to break some news just so you guys know we are live right now. We really appreciate your comments and also liking and sharing as we're broadcasting. But President Donald Trump has just signed the Epstein Transparency Act into law. So it is now the law of the United States of America to release these Epstein files. So we're gonna see something. There's gonna be some answers to some of the questions that we talked about, Mario, but that just broke right now.
Well, this is a good time for me to make an announcement. People ask me about divine healing and miracles and all that, and how it began in our ministry. It was fought for, paid for, blood, sweat, and tears on some railroad tracks in Santa Barbara, California, back in the year 19, none of your business. I literally would walk on railroad tracks 7 miles a day, crying out to God to understand the supernatural. And it was in a small church in Santa Barbara that I first looked at a woman in the audience and became very aware of her sickness. And there is where it began. The very first crusade I ever did, the first public crusade that I ever did, was in the Libero Theater in downtown Santa Barbara. And that was an amazing opening. We had several hundred people show up. I was a little kid, stood on that stage, and the Holy Spirit has told me to go back to that same stage. He said, you're going to come full circle. Something big is going to happen when you stand on that stage. So we're announcing that on December the 14th, on a Saturday at 6 p.m., we're going to celebrate Christmas and a night of miracles. And for me, it's going to be full circle coming back to that stage. It's going to be an awesome moment, an awesome moment. And I want to invite you all to come that live in anywhere near it. And we are so used to now people flying across country to our meetings that I don't hesitate to say, wherever you're from, come. Now, I want you to know that I was going to ask Matt to run a video. And instead of that, I'd rather just go straight to the QR code. And while it's up, I want to explain something to you. I want you to scan this because that guarantees you a seat. Now, here's what you need to know. You're an insider. You're a VIP. You're watching Firepower, and this is not public yet. There's been no advertisements in Santa Barbara for the general public yet to come into this miracle service. So we want you to have the inside track, and here's what you want to do. Scan this, and then you will be able to reserve your seats for you and your group. You can do that now. You don't want to be disappointed. We know. As of now, the auditorium is already half full, and we're still a few weeks away. So I don't want you to wait, and don't be disappointed. If you have any intention of going, use this code right now and register for a night of miracles. The worship's going to be amazing. We're going to mingle worship songs with the songs of Christmas. We're going to have an incredible, incredible night of miracles. So use that scan right now. Thank you. Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I mean, Santa Barbara is such a beautiful place, and just to hear the history and how the Lord used that city in your walk, and then now you're going back there. That's pretty epic. I already know it's going to be full, so I hope that folks do scan that QR code and make sure that they get seats now. Get them reserved, because if I recall, Mario, you had a meeting there not that long ago that was like overflowed, right? It was totally out the door.
In July, and believe me, people were very skeptical. They didn't think we would have the tent full, and it was full. And the next time we do a Firepower, I'm going to have some footage from that crusade, because it was an amazing breakthrough. It was back in July.
Yes, I remember that. And, I want to make mention of something. We're actually going to Atlanta on the 23rd, which is this Sunday at 4 p.m. This coming Sunday at 4 p.m. We're going to be in Atlanta, not Mario and I, but myself and our team. And we're going to have at Worship with Wonders Church at 4 p.m. an event there. And if you're anywhere near Atlanta, we'd love to meet you. I'd love to shake your hand. I'd love to pray for you. And we're also expecting the Lord to move there in a mighty way. So 4 p.m. Worship with Wonders Church in Atlanta, the 23rd, this coming Sunday. And Mario, I just, hey, look at this. Matt's got it. Okay. That's our Atlanta meeting right there. And we're excited. Mario, as I sit here and we talk about these things, I have hope. And I want to make sure that everybody understands we have tremendous hope. And here's why. To your point earlier in the broadcast, the young people that are coming up to the altar, the hunger, the shift in demographics, even in the last couple of months, in Beeville, the hunger was off the charts. I mean, the group that was there was just ready to receive the word of the Lord. They came with an expectation. And this is what gives me great hope, because I think it was you that said, the only way that we can really beat the communism or the Islamization is through revival. That's the answer, Jesus Christ and revival. And the hope is that we have hope that folks are coming to know Jesus. We don't want to miss our hour of visitation. And it's time to really step up and step out of the water and, get out of the boat and look Jesus in the eye and really step in your calling. And don't let anybody convince you otherwise. No. You got to do what God's called you to do, operate in the gifts of the Spirit, operate in the fruit of the Spirit, and go and make disciples of the nations.
And you may be watching right now and wondering what is going to happen next in America. And you know what I'm going to tell you? The Bible is your friend. Prayer is your friend. And you got to understand there are a lot of prophets online, and they want you to depend on them for a word to understand what is going on right now. Thus saith the Lord. Well, the Bible is cover to cover a thus saith the Lord. And it has withstood every test there is, including the test of time. And you have got to understand that God wants to anchor your soul and pull you into the next level, the thing that you can't be afraid of, that God is going to do something very special in this country. That's why for 2026, Todd, we're pulling out all the stops. Our first crusade next year is going to be in California, in San Bernardino, and there will literally be thousands and thousands of people going to that crusade that are not saved, that are in gangs, on drugs. We're going to watch the greatest influx of conversions in 2026 that we've ever seen. I can't wait. It's going to be a powerful supernatural event. And we want you to know that every Wednesday, we're going to be here for you. And again, share this broadcast right now. Before you leave now, share it with someone else, because this needs to go out. Go ahead, Todd. We got 45 seconds.
Okay, well, I want to pray. Lord, we just thank you for the truth that was spoke today. I thank you for this Firepower Army. And I just pray that we leave here emboldened, strengthened in our faith, ready to do what you've called us to do, that we have ears to hear. And as Mario said, we get into your word and then we go and we make disciples of the nations. And I thank you for those that partner with us and that support these ministries and all that you're doing, Lord God, because we know the hour is late. And we thank you for these folks in Jesus' name. Amen.
In Jesus' name. And remember, greater is he who is in us than he that is in the world. And that is Firepower, your friend, to make you armed and dangerous for Christ in his mighty name. See you next time. Well, Merry Christmas. This is Mario Murillo. It's not too early to say it. You see the Libero Theater behind me? That is the site of the greatest meeting we're going to have this year, a Christmas Night of Miracles. Many of you already know about it. December 14th, 6 p.m., Sunday night, one night only. The general public doesn't know yet, because we are taking and sending an email to our special friends in Southern California. We want you to reserve your seats so you will not be disappointed. The only thing we ask is that you be at the Libero Theater by 5:30, because that's when the general public is allowed to come in. You can have guaranteed seating. You're the only ones that can. And you don't want to wait. I want to tell you to use the link below. What kind of a night are we going to have? Can you imagine mixing any two things better than the music of Christmas, powerful worship, a message about the new year, and divine healing, miracles, and salvation? What a night to bring the people you love. Don't miss it. Take a moment right now. Reserve your seating by using the link below. I know you will not regret it. Let me say it one last time. Sunday night, December 14th, 6 p.m., in the famous Libero Theater in downtown Santa Barbara. Use the link now. Don't wait.